But I thought, this being the year of the priest, that we might reflect a little bit about the wonderful gift of priesthood. Let me begin by telling you one of my favorite stories about a pastor in the west of Ireland, where my family is from. And this pastor used to take up a special collection every year for the needs of the parish, and if anybody failed to participate, he would give them a house call. And so in this particular case, Nora Cassidy, the widow Cassidy, had not made her annual contribution, and so the pastor knocked on her door, and she said, "Oh, Father, come in, have a cup of tea." He said, "No, Nora," he said, "I'm here on business." He said, "I'm here because I noticed that you haven't yet made your contribution to the annual parish collection." And she said, "Well, it's true." She said, "You know, it's been hard since himself died." And he said, "Well, I understand." He said, "But surely you must have a few pounds squirreled away in a cookie jar or something." And she said, "Well, as a matter of fact, I do." He said, "Well, Nora, what are you going to use that money for?" She said, "Well, Father, I was thinking about getting a permanent wave." And the priest said, "Now, Nora, do you think our Blessed Mother would have gotten a permanent wave with that money?" She said, "Well, I suppose not, but I don't think her son would be driving around in a big fancy car like that either." So often it's the lay people who remind us priests what our vocation is supposed to be, and the call to be like Jesus. In Jesus' farewell at the Last Supper, he gave us a new command, the new commandment, that we love each other the way that he loves us. And then, as he's saying farewell, he assures us he's going to be with us always. And to do that, he gives us the Eucharist. And he ordains his apostles so that the Eucharist can be available to everyone, everywhere, for all times. And so the Eucharist, that is the center of our life, is given to us with the gift of the priesthood, so that the Lord, in his love for us, can be present everywhere, not just in Galilee, not just in Jerusalem, but everywhere in the world where the Eucharist is celebrated. I often tell the story, too, about the Jesuit and the Franciscan that came out of a church, and a young man ran over to them and they said, "Fathers, can you tell me what novena I have to say to get a BMW?" And the Franciscan said, "What's a BMW?" And the Jesuit said, "What's a novena?" In Boston, we are blessed with having 300 Jesuits here. I don't think there's another diocese that has more Jesuits here. In fact, 100 of them live in St. Mary's Hall at BC. That might be the largest religious house of priests in the United States. Could be. I can't think of one larger. But for a long time, the largest community of priests was the Fararblock. That was the priest section of the concentration camp at Dachau. There was a cardinal there, several bishops, and 3,000 Catholic priests, in addition to 100 Protestant ministers and 30 Orthodox priests. But 3,000 Catholic priests in Dachau. In 1975, I participated in a Mass in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome with Cardinal Wright, and several hundred priests who were survivors of the concentration camps. It was one of the most moving experiences of my life. Cardinal Wright cited the sociological studies done about concentration camps. The researchers interviewed survivors, Jews, intellectuals, political prisoners from Italy, France, Germany, Hungary, Poland. All were asked, in the midst of the hell that was the concentration camp, surrounded by all the horror rife in those prisons, horrors that depersonalized, destroyed personality and sanity as well as health, what group remained sane the longest?